kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds, and when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me.
Hello, race fans, and welcome to the California Speedway. We are live here in Fontana, ready to see the Dynasty Racing League Cup Series drivers get ready for the big show here. It's going to be a good one here. It's going to be 200 miles here. I'm Liam Irvik, joined up in the booth by Matt Metler. Matt, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. They say this is Hollywood's racetrack, and I got my partner in crime back up with me up in the booth. Liam, so great to have you back here, calling the shots alongside me, just like last season, as these boys are locked, ready to rock here from the house that Penske built, the one and only California Speedway.
Yes, sir. Built under the great supervision of Roger Penske in the late 90s. First time the NASCAR Cup Series ran here, I believe, was 97. The track remained unchanged up until this year, where the final Cup race was run in 2023, won by Kyle Busch. But we've got a lot of history here, but we've got some history to be made here tonight. We've got Bryce Borer on the pole here. We're going to get a couple of words in with him in just a few moments here.
Yeah, a couple words with Bryce Boyer on the pole, as you mentioned, in the 5 ride. As you said, he makes some history. 10-4. As Liam mentioned, we're going to get interviews here shortly. Up in the booth now, I'm joined by the pole sitter, Bryce Boyer. Matt and Liam up in the booth. You got me, bud.
I got you. What's going on, brother?
Hey, not too much, man. You're what's going on in the 5 ride. You set the quick time of a 39.420 as you start to roll off here. How's that car driving for you out there around this two-mile speedway?
Yeah, it feels good. Auto Club notorious for burning up the rubber, so unfortunately we got to wear the same set of shoes that we qualify with. And that being said, we're looking pretty hot in the rears right now, so I may have to pace myself during the first run here.
Yeah, as you mentioned, that track temperature right now, 77 degrees, not too shabby, but you're right. This Gen 4 makes all the horsepower and torque. The good news is for your Dr. Feelgoods, you have unlimited sets there in the pits as those lights go out on the pace car. Get it done out there on the racetrack, Wild Thing. Be fun to watch you roll. Best of luck out there.
Appreciate you. Y'all enjoy up there.
And there he is, ladies and gentlemen, your pole sitter, Bryce Boyer. Going to lead him to the checkered flag here from the valley, but just outside these racing
to the green, Matt. We're way too soon for the checkers.
That's right. Thank you. Getting ahead of myself. You can lead us to the checkers here. What I like to call the Valley of the Sun. I know a lot of people say that's Phoenix, but if you ever look around the perimeter of this racetrack, you see all the mountains, the snow-covered caps, just a beautiful scenery here. Into the Geico restart zone, waiting on the initial checkered flag, and we're live here from California Speedway. Bryce has that Gen 4 engine screaming through the heavens as they all come up through the gears for the first time, going off into one.
Yes, sir, Matt, continuing on the little running gag there with the checkers. Here comes the 44 of Motre down to the inside, trying to make a move, but look at how dominant that top side is coming up off of turn number 2. Already on that first lap, we've got a big separation between 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Side by side is Marcus Chaffin down to the inside of Sam Niederhelm. Niederhelm with a fantastic qualifying run, getting him up into the top 3. Having a not-so-good start initially here, falling back 3 spots here on the initial start. But Bryce Boyer gets out front, starts on the pole, leads the first lap. He's going to keep Ryan Motre behind him.
Have to have drafting help here, too, to get around this racetrack quick and successfully. The 44 right there with him, but now he's going to pull the trigger. He's going to poke a nose, goes down the racetrack side by side, coming out of the turn 2 complex. It is a drag race going down the backstretch. Who's going to prevail going into 3?
Not enough of the rear end on these cars compared to what we see on Sundays to get the side draft, but I tell you what, that bottom lane working amazingly for that 44 Hot Wheels machine. Gets down to the bottom, gets a couple of car links on Bryce Boyer, but all the way down to the bottom of the track. With the momentum comes Bryce once again. He's going to be right up to the rear bumper as they get down into turn number 1.
What an aggressive move from Bryce Boyer, going all the way from the top down to the flats on the bottom. Just like Liam said, able to get right up on the back of the race car. Big time loose coming off the top, able to save it. Couldn't fit a coat of paint in between the wall in the race car. And look at him draft up on the 44. He's going to send it in there again on the bottom.
I gotta wonder which lane is going to be dominant. We know there's speed up on the top side, and we've seen the speed down on the bottom with what that 44 did just a couple of laps ago. You see Bryce Boyer getting down to the bottom side, trying to utilize that bottom grip that the 44 used on him just a couple laps ago. So far unable to, as he gets right up next to the wall once again, trying to get that flat right side as much of a cushion between him and the wall. But as we look back, PJ O'Leary, he's up 2 spots from the start, started 5th out of 8 cars. He's up here looking to try to make something spoil for the race lead.
Yeah, well said. The 29 ride, like you said, started a little further back up, too, as we go further back through the field. Richard Springer sprung the hot lap of the race at a 39.80. Don't tell me that draft doesn't come into effect here, because clearly the speed charts say otherwise, as he's working with Paul Pessler right now in that 31 machine just in front of him, the lone Dodge in the field. All this going on as we have haymakers being thrown all over the racetrack.
Yeah, you say it's only an 8-car race, but we've got a lot of battling going on. The 44 trying to figure out how to set up, or rather keep the 5 behind him. The 5 trying to figure out how to set up the pass on the 44. PJ O'Leary just behind these guys, hoping that they get side by side, punch a bigger hole in the air, and if they do, he's in the game. And if he's in the game, Marcus Chaffin right behind him, he's going to be right up in there as well. The top 5 within just about a second and a half, or rather 2 seconds of the race lead. These things staying super competitive here as we are on lap number 6 out of 100. These guys running super hard in what should be an endurance race here at Auto Club. Tell you what, it's going to be exciting as these guys get to or get towards the pit stops, start deciphering how many times are they going to stop, how valuable is those fresh tires going to be versus trying to utilize your fuel cell.
Yeah, all questions that we will have answered here over the course of 100 laps as everyone continues to chase that 44 and Bryce Boyer. A little bit further on back, there's the 31. We go on board with Paul, looking at the front of Dave Acacia. Oh, he's going to take it up to the top side. I thought maybe they would work together and utilize the draft here. Dave says, I want to lead this train in the back. But look at the 31 just as
Get a little bit loose there coming up off of turn number 2. Had to cut down the track. That gave the 31 the outside lane that he was looking for. But now here comes Dave Acacia back down to the bottom, trying to utilize that speed. Not enough with the shorter distance, and Richard Springer trying to take full advantage.
Yeah, Richard Springer is going to take full advantage of that situation. Almost bounces it off the wall. That's going to cost him a little bit of momentum as you see him working the really high side of the racetrack. The 31 and the 17 of Dave Acacia, they get some great runs center off the corner here. If these 3 drivers can work together, they should be able to run down to the front of the field as we see PJ O'Leary side by side all the way down to the white line. How bad does he want P number 2?
I tell you what, we missed a pass for the lead as we were looking towards the back of the pack. Seeing that excellent battle will get you caught up to speed on the pass for the lead. But right now, Bryce Boyer, your pole sitter, back into the lead. Ryan Mottray in second. PJ O'Leary tries to take away that spot once again here down on the bottom. Look at how far down he is. There's a good 50, 60 feet between these race cars, and then all of a sudden they funnel right back up next to each other coming up off of turn number 2.
Yeah, PJ O'Leary, hashtag full send, fully committed to the bottom. And like you said, you end up right back funneling up to the top, but you better hope in gray there's a hole there
for the race lead once again. Sorry to cut you off there, Matt. The battle picked up, and as soon as it did, the 44 got loose, and it let off once again. Let's go back and quickly take a look at that pass for the lead before this action gets too far in front of us here. It looks like the 44 scrapes up against the wall and gives the 29 and the 5 both a chance. 5 takes easy advantage of that. The 29 gets almost clear getting down into turns 3 and 4, but just can't take advantage of it. It's going to keep Mottray in second place. But I tell you what, this battle is insanely hot right now with the top 5 all under a blanket right now. I said they were 2 seconds apart before. They are less than 1 second apart right now.
Yeah, the PJ O'Leary train has came and they have caught the leaders. Now, as you mentioned, it is a 5-way slugfest at the front. Pick your poison. Whoa, the 18 got loose off the top. Niederhelm really had to reel it there for a moment. That may cost him a little bit of momentum now as we go on board with the 18 of Chaffin. Look at him send it into the turns 3 and 4 complex here. I mean, they are carrying well over 200 miles an hour. Some of the fastest speeds I've seen upwards of 207, 208.
And you see
Absolutely
something interesting there
history.
with the way that this FedEx number 18 machine got up into the corner. He goes in high, he tries to let off a little bit early. This corner varies a lot more with the way that these guys are running in front of him. But he hits that midpoint of the corner, tries to hit the apex and get onto the gas sooner than the drivers in front of him. They're running a lower line. There's a little bit of wall contact for PJ O'Leary. They're running that lower line. They can't get into the throttle. They've got to use a lot more input. That 18 machine, Marcus Chaffin, he's trying to find the best spot to get into the gas to compare to these guys, and you see just how much they're sliding up. not as effective as the 18 wants it to be right now, but he can only hope as he sees these guys slit and sliding around. It's going to fall into his favor as Sam Niederhelm now looks down to the inside for 4th place here at Auto Club.
And Niederhelm.
Ooh, look at this. Oh, into the wall.
into the
Goes
wall.
the 18. Marcus Chaffin scrapes it up pretty good. Slows him down, but I don't think there's going to be any major damage. Sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
No, not a problem. You talked about him firing out on the top side. That's the one blemish to going to driving up there in that real estate. If you slip just a little bit, this Gen 4 car likes to suck into the wall. Is PJ O'Leary all over the back of the 44. Now he's going to pull the trigger. Eaton on the bottom, looking to take the spot here. If we go down in the 1, these top 3 are racked in stacked. Pitch a blanket over top of them. O'Leary all the way down as low as you can possibly get on this racing service.
A cut he made coming through the middle of turns 1 and 2 to get side by side with the 44. He made up a lot of time on the 5, but the 5 didn't have him to worry about there. PJ O'Leary, he's cutting cookies out there right now. He's slicing pizza. He's doing absolutely everything he can on the track, and he is gripping that thing better than anybody else, no matter what metaphor you want to throw at him.
He absolutely is. He's got the Keebler elves in his back pocket right now talking about cookies. The question is, Liam, how much is that impacting those Goodyear Eagles on that race car?
I tell you what, Matt, it doesn't matter if we see a caution flag, which I know over the course of this season and last is there goes the 5. Maybe a little bit of a tag slapper coming up off of the corner has to react to it. I tell you what, Matt, tires don't matter if you get a caution. It's just a question of if you're going to get a caution. The way these guys are racing up front for the lead, I don't know, man. It could happen. There goes Sam Niederhelm down to the inside. Amazing save after he scrapes the wall with the rear end. Had a big loose moment coming up out of turn number 4.
Yeah, he's asking for all the power coming off of the corner, and that tells me that those Goodyear Eagles, that right rear on Niederhelm's car is already starting to get used and abused. As we go back on board, PJ O'Leary, biggest mover of the race, now up to 2nd. Can he get away? Can he find a way to pilot this race car around Royce Boyer? But he's just making it, that car is as wide as a dump truck. He's thrown it everywhere. Look at this now. The 29's going to take it downstairs again. The 5's going to try and pinch him off so he can't slide up the racetrack. There they go, drag race going down into 1.
Bryce got a little bit loose there in 3 and 4. That time around, it gave not much of a chance, but a little bit of a chance to PJ O'Leary. Opportunity to the bottom, but I tell you what, that 5 car is absolutely sticking the top side like no other. The PJ O'Leary machine has the grip on the bottom. That 5 machine of Bryce Borer has it on the top. We're going to see an excellent battle as we are 17 laps into this thing. I got to say, we're halfway into a fuel run if you're trying to 2-stopper. Less than 10 laps away if you're trying to 3-stopper. We look at the fall off in terms of best lap to last lap. There is about a second throughout most of the field. However, your race leader is just under a second. His best lap was a 40.09 compared to the fastest lap of the race run by Richard Springer in 6th, which was a 39.80. So 0.3 difference in the fastest lap for them. But last time around, that Bryce Borer machine, a 40.92, was the only driver in the 40-second range. PJ O'Leary coming out here trying to change that.
Yeah, PJ Leary is definitely on the move right now. He's doing everything he can, trying to get inside the head of the cockpit of that race car. See if he can rattle his cage, make him start near driving, making a mistake, but that is not the case. His Boyer has been perfect, near perfection, top side of the racetrack. There PJ goes again with a slingshot move down to the bottom. Look at how that car just about drifts off the corner, but somehow able to keep all that momentum wound up. That big horsepower and torque package certainly working right now for the 29, because last night in the ARCA car, you just didn't have the power to make it work. You gave up so much. This Gen 4 car, completely different animal, is now PJ re-racks and restacks and goes to back to work. on the back of Bryce Boyer as he continues to lead this piece. 20 laps in now, just over PJ O'Leary, Ryan Morey, Sam Niederhelm, and Marcus Chaffin. That's the top 5 as they run right now through 20 laps of competition.
Being on the racetrack, things starting to get a little bit more spread out. We might start to see some of that strategy stuff play into factor. You see the 5-car Walker working the bottom side now, different from where we've seen him all day, but he's continuing to open up that gap on PJ O'Leary. And Matt, I do want to bring up the PJ O'Leary story just a little bit, and I think he might be kind of playing into it. Last year we saw him a lot in that number 29, but it was the white Goodwrench car with the red number, olive drive, rocking Kevin Harvick's rookie car. Now here we see him in his, in this second season that we've done with the Dynasty Racing League, rocking Kevin Harvick's 2002 paint scheme, his second year in the Cup Series. And, Kevin Harvick had an amazing first year and a little bit of a sophomore slump. What we're seeing out of PJ O'Leary is he gets big loose coming out of the corner, has to make a couple of corrections. What we're seeing out of PJ O'Leary is definitely impressive in terms of gains he has made as a driver throughout the course of the entire series that we've been watching.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. You know, during our first season with Dynasty last season, you know, we really watched him evolve as a race car driver. You know, we saw his situational awareness, his performance, the stamina over the longer runs, everything that you look to gel and just to elevate here, that the Dynasty Cup Series, requires you to be as a competitor to get up there with the Austin Collins and the Thomas Harmons, if you will. PJ absolutely excelled at that. You mentioned the paint scheme. He's right on cue. He's in his second season, I believe, and he's got the second Kevin Harvick's second year paint scheme on that 29 Chevrolet. And he's also sitting second on the leaderboard. So he's got 2s across the board right now, but he wants to change one of those to a 1.
He's hoping to put that 1 into the win column here. He hasn't lost a whole heck of a lot of time. I know he said things were kind of spreading out, and Trey behind in the 44 is falling off just a hair. It's now Sam Niederhelm after a big moment just about 10 laps ago coming up off of turn number 4. He's getting back up into the race for 3rd place here. We'll go ahead and check back on that. And Sam Niederhelm absolutely on a mission right now. He knows he's got a quick car. He's another driver that we saw maybe towards the midfield to the back of the pack at the beginning of last season, but continuously improved, found himself up in the top 10, the top 5, and now he's sitting here trying to fight for a podium spot. I tell you what, dude, I don't think he's much slower than the race leaders. This last time around, the fastest car on the racetrack was the 66 of Sam Niederhelm.
Yeah, Sam Niederhelm is doing a great job of managing those Goodyears on that race car right now. We've seen some crazy high-flying action up front, and while that's great for the broadcast and everyone that's tuned in live on the SRM YouTube channel, that's not good for these cars over the course of the long run. Sam kind of took a back seat to all the crazy action we've seen at the front. Now it's paying dividends, as you said. Fastest car on the racetrack, last time by 39.88. One of the few drivers still left in that 39-second bracket is now we see the 44 makes the pass. He's going to punch his
there, Matt. He was actually it was a 41.51 last time, about a 10th slower, getting down below that 44. But he has made that pass. Now he's up into 3rd place. He's just got the top 2 in front of him, about a second. So Sam Niederhelm gets up into 3rd place. We'll see what type of lap times he's putting down. But Richard Springer, he's going to be the first one to duck into the pits. He's trying the 3-stop strategy. Richard Springer comes down on lap number 26.
Yep, Richard Springer, first guy to peel off down pit road. As you mentioned, he is on that 3-stop strategy, and it almost paid off for him last night in the ARCA race until trouble found him late as he's looking for his team in his pit box on pit road. While he's crawling at pit road speed, everyone continues to chase Bryce Boyer at the front of this piece as he carries the torch here in Southern California.
PJ O'Leary not too far behind. Sam Niederhelm just moved himself into 3rd, continues to put some of the quicker laps down. That time by just a 10th slower than your race leader, Bryce Boyer. clean air seems to be a huge deal here so far. We're going to go ahead and step away, give you guys a little bit of a side-by-side action, and be right back before the main pit stops start to happen.
Yeah, took a really deep entry there at the pit road and then kicked it out wide to the cone at the last second. Very aggressive entry, and you're right, able to get it mowed down to that pit road speed. Should you get it wrong, that's a black flag that almost takes you out of contention, as these guys in this DRL racing series are so famous for their flag-to-flag action, referring to green flag action, as that is. We continue to watch PJ continue to lead here, but look who is closing in on him is now PJ hits pit road. I believe that's going to bring the 66 pound with him as well. So PJ and Niederhelm both on pit road now, making their first pit stops of the race. This all happening on lap 33.
And go back. Had more of an issue or stayed on pit road for a lot longer, because he is still behind the 5 machine.
Yeah, good distance behind the 5 machine, too. You're right. First car in line with fresh shoes right now is the 44. But I agree, there must have been a miscue on pit road. We're going to see how much this costs him here. Is here PJ O'Leary now exiting his pit box. Here comes the 5 of Bryce Boyer.
Pass is going
There's
to happen
PJ.
through the middle of turns 1 and 2, but can PJ utilize his lap or 2 pressure tires as a big loose moment comes out of the number 5, and around goes PJ O'Leary down the back straightaway.
PJ O'Leary coming up to speed.
This
Hustling
is
it
going to
off of
have to
pit
bring
road.
a caution.
No, he gets it rolling. Green flag still in the air. iRacing did not throw a yellow. This could be absolutely catastrophic for the 29 ride.
Just a little bit too much touches the grass. I tell you what, I'm not sure how that wasn't an iRacing caution, but
It should have been.
the series does what it does, and gonna keep on rolling here in Fontana. Agent's
Now,
gonna come back down to the pits, get some of that damage looked at. Bryce Boyer in the race lead, about a second and a half over Ryan Mottray, then Dave Acacia sitting in 3rd place right now.
Yeah, Dave Acacia right now silently sitting in that 3rd place position, up 4 slots from where he started. Dave Acacia had a great run going here last night in the ARCA car as well. They look similar, but under the hood, these cars are a lot different, and you have to race them differently out here on the racetrack. But Dave doing a great job, biggest mover of the race, as he continues to run in that 3rd and final podium position. This all happening about 16 seconds in back of the leaders, or in this case, Ryan Mottray, who's in 2nd. You got to go about 18 seconds till you catch the leader of that 5 of Bryce Boyer.
Just to keep you guys updated, Richard Springer has not completed, well, now he's back out onto the racetrack, but he is 9 laps down. Marcus Chapin, Sam Niederhelm out of the race. Not entirely sure what happened to them. We'll try to get back and look at that. So far, the top 3, the only drivers on the lead lap. PJ O'Leary sits in 4th, Paul Pellissier in 5th place. Top 5 on the racetrack. I tell you what, all you got to do is finish, and you've got a good stat in your book.
No, you're right. I mean, even if you put a hauler in the infield, you came out of here with a guaranteed top 10. Those are very far few and in between and easy to come by here in the Dynasty Racing League Cup Series. Live from Fontana, California here, the house that Penske built through 38 laps of competition. If you guys are new to SRM, join the family. Easiest way to do that, smash the like button, ring the bell. Come home to 7 days of high-octane, high-flying racing action right here on SRM. His new hot lap on the board, you guessed it, PJ O'Leary with a 39.77. I see you, PJ. The bad news is he's going to need a caution here to get back in this.
Yeah, and I think that's the case for everybody here. Bryce Boyer started the race on the pole, up into the wall right there. A little bit of a
Hold on to
contact.
it.
Tell you what, he's still got 2 seconds between him and the 44. He's still plenty fine as long as he can stay out of his own head. And to be this early on into the race, to be putting on such a dominant performance. Obviously, he didn't lead every lap. We saw him get passed by the 44 early on. Trey got up into the wall. That gave the opportunity back to that old Kyle Busch machine to get up to the front. He hasn't really looked back since. Continuing to increase that gap. He's continuing to push the line between the top seam and the wall. He's kind of giving Max Verstappen vibes right now. It's almost like he's got it on lock, but he has no interest in driving to the pace that the drivers are behind him. He wants to continue to push and be as quick as he possibly can.
Well said. I could not agree with you more. This car is on rails, driving like Kyle Busch in real life out there on the racetrack as well. And just look how smooth and methodical he is behind the wheel of that race car. The other thing is, during that race interview, when we were interviewing him, he certainly sounded confident, and that's the other part to the puzzle. If you have a fast race car, that's great, but as a driver, you got to have that confidence. That gives you an extra advantage, an extra boost, an edge, and that's certainly what we heard out of the tone of Bryce Boyer before he took the green flag. And you're right, ever since he got the lead back from the 44, he is checked out on this piece, almost a 2.5-second advantage over second.
And I mean, to talk to your point about the interview we had with him, he sounded like he was in game mode. Sorry.
Yeah. Absolutely.
My bad.
He
sounded like he was in the zone. He was in game mode. He was ready to go. He wasn't fluttering anything. He was just confident. We know what we have to do. We just got to get out there and do it. Right now, he's doing an absolutely fantastic job. Excellent job, Bryce Boyer is. Ryan Montre, though, still 2 seconds back. It's quite a gap to try to overcome right now, but I tell you what, as these tires wear down, if that 5 car is using more than he wants to, that's going to show sooner rather than later.
Well, that's the other side of this, too. As good as the 5 is and has been through 43 laps of competition, the 44 just kisses the outside wall.
That's going to lead all of that time gain.
I was just going to say the same thing. You stole the words right out of my mouth.
Did the 5 hit the wall too, though? The time hasn't changed. It's still 2.1, 2.2, getting into 3 and 4. I wonder if the 5 maybe had a similar issue.
Yeah, maybe simultaneously, even though they're not nose to tail on the racetrack, perhaps the 5 and the 44 getting into that outside wall at the same exact time. As you're right, the time differential did not change a bit, as it should have. With that type of momentum you would lose getting into the wall in this Gen 4 race car. You know, getting back to what you said before the contact with the wall, you mentioned the tires. If the 44, let's say, is in a little bit more of a save mode versus if the 5 is going all out, we don't know for certain. We're not inside the race car. When do these tires start to show who's saving and who's abusing them in your opinion, Liam?
Well, if they're European tires, they're going to do much less than American tires would. No, I kid. I think it would have happened already, to be honest. We've seen a little bit of squirrely moments out of both of these guys. We watched the 44 get squirrely. Oh, he's up into the wall once again. Yeah. We saw him get squirrely coming up, and he can't get off of it. Now he's off of it, but that's going to cost him a lot more time than the last wall contact did. But, you know, we've seen a little bit of a slide out of the 44 here and there, and I think that's what starts it. Once that sliding starts, you've really got a tough time trying to cool these tires down. You've got long, sweeping corners that you need the right rear to get the grip on. And so if you overuse it, especially down this long front straightaway that's still kind of curved, it's going to be really tough to cool down that tire.
No, you hit the nail on the head. Once you, it's like when you get water to boil. Once it's boiling, the minute you still keep some heat on it, it's going to continue to boil. It's like once you put that tire over the edge. That was very well said. The other part of this too, this tire is a lot different than what we see on that next gen race car. This is a 15-inch tire. The next gen is a 17-inch tire, has a lot wider width of a contact patch. That's the surface of the tire that's meeting the pavement, the asphalt.
Not only that, Matt, but the rim is larger too. So there's less of a sidewall.
That's right. You're right. So
it is kind of wild to be explaining. Oh, the 44 scrapes the wall again. Seems like he's pushing a bit too hard right now. He sees the gap that's gaining in front of him. Last thing he wants to do is let PJ O'Leary, who's a lap down, get back in front of him when Caution comes out, or David Keisha behind him. But you're definitely right. Wild, Matt, to sit here and talk about the difference between these cars and the next gen cars as if this is a new concept. You know,
You don't-
for us, this is, you know, kind of old news. But
Right.
there's definitely a lot of people that are getting into iRacing, getting into NASCAR that, you know, this is old news. This is not what they're used to and not what they cared about.
No, these are the cars that you and I grew up watching that made us fall in love with the sport. Well, at least for me, in my opinion, I'm pretty sure you probably fall into that bucket too as well. As we go on board, we go on board here with Bryce Boyer. These cars are light years apart from one another. I believe that's what you were alluding to, and you couldn't be any more correct here. Now almost halfway home, working lap 49. I mean, look just how close Bryce Boyer is to the wall. Over
Bring up my
200.
favorite.
Oh, there we go, the GoPro.
That tank slapper, Cam, and I tell you what, you couldn't have put a piece of paper between that rear quarter panel and the wall of the 5 machine right here. I love this tank slapper camera sitting right on the edge of the passenger side door. You can't get any closer to the wall than you are right now in this camera angle exclusive to Sim Racing Media, unless somebody else
That's right.
decides to do it. But,
Well, your tank slapper cam, it's got a thumbs up from Roddy the Rooster, and as long as Roddy's still there giving the thumbs up, he didn't get the wall. But you're right, man. A piece of paper and Roddy's face would have been turned upside down.
a little bit further off the wall, probably 6 inches compared to half an inch that last time around. Tell you what, this 5 machine, he is not. Oh, now he jumps out of the bottom.
Trying to balance those tires, perhaps.
Maybe he's got somebody in his ear that's telling him what we're seeing, and
That's a
change it up.
possibility, too. A lot of these drivers do listen to the broadcast while we're out there on the racetrack. As our producer goes through his excellent strategic use of the different camera angles that we have right here on SRM to bring you all the angles of the race coverage here from Fontana, California. Now over that halfway mark, taking a look there at the 31, who's been up 3 spots, started there in that 8th place position, now currently inside the top 5 and 5th, all over the back of Richard Springer. This for 5th and 6th, respectively, on the racetrack.
actually, I hate to correct you here. Richard Springer, a couple of laps down, he was able to make the pass on Sam Niederhelm and Marcus Chapin, who are no longer in
That's
the race.
right, thank you.
So 5th and 6th is correct, but it is not a battle for position right now as the 6th place car, Richard Springer, trying to... I tell you what, he's racing hard, man, and I would too. He stays respectful there, gives away the track position. Tried to keep him behind as long as he could in a respectful manner, but if you're going to do any more than what Richard Springer did, it would come into blocking and really just kind of being rude over a spot that doesn't matter too much. Richard Springer, though, fantastic driver out here having fun. We're going to see Paul Pellissier jump into the top 5. We're going to see him a lot more this season, that Texaco Avalon machine.
Yeah, in fact, he's been here each and every race, even though it's early in the season, and Paul's been having a heck of a great start here to the season. I believe he's been top 5 every step of the way so far, including Daytona as well. Oh, Richard Springer gets a big piece of the wall. You've seen the tires smoke, the plume shoot up in the air, and now you can see the damage as a result on that 21 Valvoline Ford Mustang out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, he had a bit of a loose moment there going through turns 1 and 2. Overcorrected, coming up off of the corner just a little bit too much. Got up into that wall. Just past halfway, we're on lap number 54 out of 100 here. 6 drivers still on the racetrack. 3 of them on the lead lap. Bryce Boyer is driving away as he has a 6-second lead over the 44 of Motre. Dave Acacia sits in 3rd. PJ O'Leary, he's in 4th right now, trying to get around that 44. He's on a whole different strategy right now as here comes the 44 into the pits. Is he going to try to make it to the end from here, or is he going to split it? That's the big question.
I think he's going to try and make it from the end here. He probably understands he doesn't have the speed heads up for Bryce Boyer. So what do? You go Las Vegas mode. You dial a little strategery into the pit stop, and you undercut him. And I believe you hit the nail on the head. I think the 44 is going to bank that he can make it from here. Let's see if this draws the 5 car in.
Oh, if it will, I feel like 45 laps is a long way to go on a tank of gas here. It's going to be tough for that 44 to make it to the end here, but that's going to put Dave Acacia up into second place. That 17 machine, he's doing that Matt Kenseth thing. He's staying consistent. He's just running his race, letting things fall into place for him. And right now, he sits in second place with 1 pit stop remaining.
Yeah, Dave Acacia doing what Dave Acacia does. And like you said, he lets the dominoes fall into place in front of him. Really good at staying out of the mayhem on the racetrack. That killer beast, number 17, it's looking good in the neighborhood. No damage on that car, at least visibly. That's exactly how Dave likes to methodically work his way through these races. As you mentioned, up 5 spots, biggest mover of the race in P2. But the biggest factor, the big thing that's holding him back right now is he's north of now 14 seconds behind the 5 of Bryce Boyer, but getting a little drafting help now from the 21 of Springer.
It's going to be a tough battle for him. If that 44 machine can make it all the way to the end, Dave Acacia is going to have a tough task to try to take away second place. He's going to sit on the podium, I think, no matter what, unless PJ O'Leary's strategy shows to be something more than I expect. But Dave Acacia right now sitting pretty in second place. His strategy might keep him there. We've got a long way to go, though. We've got 42 laps to go at the line, 84 miles. Not a lot of cars left here, but still a lot of racing action and a lot of strategy still yet to play.
Yeah, a lot of time, and we know it's never over, especially in this series, until that checkered flag falls. Think about back last season, all the epic battles between Thomas the Hammer Harmon, Taylor Butcher Benjamin. You know, where am I going with this? Look what happened to PJ O'Leary. He was having a great run early. He was fast. He was in contention. Has one little minor miscue, a slip off of pit road, and now he finds himself the first car a lap down. So everyone at home right now, you're thinking about...
44 got around him. Ryan Mottray, first car a lap down if caution comes out. Sorry I interrupted you there, Matt.
Oh, you're perfectly fine, bud. You're perfectly fine. I was more thinking about what I was saying, trying to get the point across than the pass being there on the racetrack. So great heads up. And you're right. Now he changes up. There's the 44 there on the racetrack. But a caution changes everything in this race. It's gonna re-rack, restack everyone on top of each other. That would put the 44 back on the lead lap. If the cards fall right, the 29 could take the wave around. There's a lot that could happen with just one caution flag. Is now we only have 40 laps remaining in competition, 100 miles or 100 laps the scheduled distance here.
I think a caution's going to be a tough ask here. Everybody's so far separated. We saw the PJ O'Leary incident. Did not end up bringing out an iRacing caution. I think it's going to be tough to ask for one of those. Bryce Boyer sits in the race lead, 40 laps to go. He's got Dave Acacia 14 seconds behind him. 44 car Ryan Mottray is gaining big time, though.
Yeah, he is
second
coming.
A lap quicker each time around.
Yeah, he is coming quick, fast, and in a hurry. The difference, though, as you mentioned just a moment ago, he is 1 lap off the lead pace. Bryce Boyer, Dave Arcadia, are basically the 2 guys right now that have a shot, as far as I'm concerned, if they're going to if they're going to be the main contenders of this race. Even though Acacia continues to fall back as far as the interval is concerned, now sitting at almost 14 seconds still. That 5 has just been glued to the top of the racetrack. At times we've seen him venture down to the bottom, but even so, Bryce Boyer doing a great job executing inside that race car, doing everything he needs to do at a very high level of execution right now.
Yeah, he really hasn't put a foot wrong all day. We've seen him get sideways a time or two. We've seen him scrape the wall. It's, minor mistakes here and there.
Right,
But the
to be
gap
fair,
that he's been able to build up on these guys behind him, I know there's been some trouble for some other guys. Obviously, PJ is not where he wants to be, as you see the 44 unlap himself over Bryce Boyer, and now Ryan Motre back on the lead lap, 41 seconds back. Oh, and Motre hits the wall.
and gets loose right in front of the leader. Could be Arrow playing a little bit of a factor there as he's able to unlap himself, doing it the hard way. Well, as you mentioned, now over 41 seconds, now under 40 seconds off of the lead. I mean, this racetrack is just so big. It's literally be impossible for him to go and come back around again, given the amount of time that we have remaining in this race. And considering how much faster he would have to be over the 5, it's almost impossible without the help of a yellow.
It's definitely going to be a tough ask. Bit of a moment there out of the 5 machine. Bryce Boyer coming up off of turn number 2. You got to wonder if he's going to be coming in this time or next. Getting towards the opening of the fuel window for a 2-stop strategy. And yeah, here comes the 5 machine down into the pits. He's going to come in, make his pit stop. He saw that 44 with the speed. Says, I don't want to spend any more time on these old tires. He's coming into the pits. Going to give Dave Acacia a chance to lead a lap. Acacia so far back. He's going to have plenty of time to react to this 5 machine coming into the pits.
Yeah, he'll have plenty of time to react as the 5 now on pit road crawling. Has his pit box in sight as the 17 of Dave Acacia now going to inherit the lead. Move him up 6 spots to the point. But folks at home, don't forget the 17 cannot make it from here. He's going to have to come down pit road and put new Goodyear Eagles on that race car, just as Bryce Boyer is doing right now as he finishes up his pit stop. Here comes the 44. And it now assumes effectively the race lead.
Huge gap.
Huge. It's going to be a massive gap.
It over 36 laps. It's already 7.5. Going to be 8 seconds ahead coming up off of turn number 2. But this tire discrepancy is going to show its hand very early.
Yes, it will.
The tire life here for Bryce Boyer. It is 9 seconds of a gap here as he's gaining his bearings, getting down into turns 3 and 4. Look at the speed on that machine. He is not lifting one bit. He's got the downforce. He's got the tire grip. He is pushing and pushing hard to try to catch that 44. Ryan Motre.
In the words of Cletus McFarland, he is letting it rip, tater chip. The question is, Bryce Boyer cannot make a mistake here. This is the first time in a long time he's been behind now. He has to be consistent. He has to keep calm, cool, and collective. You don't want to make a mistake and throw this race away. The other side of that, does the 44 have enough juice in the box to make it to the end of this?
I will have to see. PJ O'Leary with a big moment coming up off of turn number 2. Looks like he's coming into the pits, and so is the 31 to his outside. The cars coming into the pits, coming up off of turn number 4. Dave Acacia, however, is not one of them. Stays out still. Gotta wonder if he's maybe gonna try to take 2 tires or try some sort of strategy to get home in front of Ryan Motre. Bryce Boyer is 7.5 seconds back with 33 laps to go, coming to 32 laps this time by.
Yeah, look at Bryce Boyer. I mean, he is driving probably as aggressive as we've seen him all race long. He is trying to cut some of the distance out of this racing surface. How do you do that? You run lower on the racetrack, but you usually pay a higher premium in the department of those tires on the race car. I mean, look at some of the times he is running right now on the racetrack. Last time by, he was a 39.88, 87 out there on the racetrack compared to Dave Acacia's 41.89. So clearly faster on the racetrack is now the 17 is going to pull it down onto pit road for service, his final stop on the race car.
He's been almost a second and a half in faster than the 44 in front of him. We've got ourselves a battle shaping up here in just a few laps. I tell you what, though, we're going to give you guys a side-by-side action, or not even a side-by-side. We're going to go ahead and turn it up right on board with some of your favorites. Back live here. I tell you what, we've seen some incredible action. The 5 car trying to chase down the 44, scraped the wall a couple of times, but that 44 machine on 10 lap older tires is struggling, and struggling big time.
He is struggling and struggling big time, just as you said out there. 10 laps, that's a big difference on these Goodyear Eagles, and you can see the difference out there on the racetrack, just how Bryce Boyer continues to eat into the deficit. I mean, he is there off the corner.
It is
going
gone.
for the
He's
pass.
got the run. He's going down to the bottom side for the race lead here with 25 laps to go. Down to the bottom goes the 5 machine of Bryce Boyer, your pole sitter. Much fresher tires. Not going to be a tough task to get that done. But Bryce Boyer into first, Ryan Motre into second place. M44 machine running strong, but not quite strong enough to keep that 5 machine behind.
Right, well, now can he utilize the draft somehow, some way? Can he stay with the 5? Can he keep him honest? As now we see continue to pull that gap out almost to a half a second corner exit there. But, you know, I got to tip my hat to Motre. I mean, he threw the biggest type of haymaker at the 5 he could possibly do, and he gave it one heck of an effort. I mean, I just think the fresher tires in this case are going to prevail. Bryce Boyer has shown nothing but poise, class, and speed out here on the racetrack. Easily now to increase that gap, increase his lead now to over a second on the racetrack as we quickly approach 20 laps to go. All roads led to Rome, and if you want to get to victory lane here, all roads are going to have to lead. All roads lead through Bryce Boyer here.
Yeah, Boyer's got himself a phenomenal car right now. You saw the 44 get up into the wall once again. Just doing absolutely everything he can on old tires, trying to stay as close to the race lead. Runs the middle this time around, trying to keep it up off of the wall, but tell you what, that 44, in his head, he's got to be hoping that, or wishing that that strategy he pulled did a little bit more to get past for the race lead with 20 laps to go at a big track like this. I tell you what, that leaves you a lot of time to think about it. You know, it's not quite long enough to make that extra pit stop and have it work out for you, but just enough time to kind of be settled. Well, I say that, and caution has come out. The caution is out. PJ O'Leary
has
had himself another incident.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? PJ O'Leary has another incident on the racetrack. The first time the caution didn't fly, this time it does. He just loses the back, overcorrects it. He's going to do the slide job. Doesn't hit anything.
To last time. Oh my goodness, Dave Acacia. Props to PJ for locking the brakes up there, and that is probably why they threw that caution, was because Dave Acacia was coming in hot. You cannot risk a driver coming in at 175 miles an hour to a stopped car driver's side. PJ O'Leary, his tough day continues, but the caution comes out here with 20 laps to go. Very unexpected turn of events, Matt. I know I discounted it earlier, but we've got ourselves a restart on our hands.
We got ourselves a restart, a race. I kind of discounted it too. I was just throwing it out there just because it was a possibility, kind of meandering, and yet here we go. 21 laps to go. Caution out.
What a blessing that is for the 44 machine. Old tires, super old tires. He gets to come into the pits in second place, and we saw how strong he was on the initial start, able to take away the lead from the 5 until he scraped the wall. Could he have himself the restart of a lifetime here as the top 4 come into the pits? Lap down cars going to get their chance to get a lap back, and the free pass, of course, obviously will be taken care of as well. We've got ourselves a fight, a restart. Look at this swerving. Look at this playing games here, trying to get people to move.
Everything you can do to gain an advantage. All the time, all that differential we saw out the window now. This race has basically been reset in my mind. And you're right, the 44 on the initial get here was able to pass the 5. It wasn't until he had an incident with the wall that allowed Bryce Boyer to get around him and take that dominant lead and performance that we've seen throughout the course of most of this race. Now, that's all said and done. Take that script, crumble it, throw it out the window. We got a 20-lap showdown from California, and it is going to be ruthless.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Pelletier had unlapped himself before that caution came out many laps before. I don't think it was a close deal, but Paul coming into the pits, getting his service done. I believe he should restart in fourth as a lead lap car, not somebody who's got to go to the back due to a wave around.
Yeah, according to iRacing, timing and scoring, like you said, Paul is being shown in fourth. PJ O'Leary also being scored on the lead lap as well. So you're going to have 5 drivers all on the lead lap. Richard Springer marred 12 laps back. So it's a 5-legged horse race now for the win here. Bryce Boyer probably through the roof that caution came out. Get that crew chief, that spotter on the radio, be the voice of reason, calm him back down, get him refocused. Because, like I said earlier, it ain't over until it's over.
I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break here before we get the restart. We'll be right back with some fantastic racing action. 4 drivers on the lead lap. PJ O'Leary just getting his spot back onto the lead lap. Shouldn't be too far off of these boys. Going to be a great restart. We'll be right back. Yeah, we don't like that commercial. We're coming back now. We've got a restart coming up off of turn number 4. 19 laps to go. Going to be 18 at the line. 4 drivers on a lead lap. Now PJ O'Leary and that 31 machine also. Let's not forget about him. Get back ready to roll here. Waiting. Green flag in the air and a phenomenal restart out of the 5 machine. Brewer gets away clean.
Breuer gets away clean with a little bit of a offset restart there in the top lane. Look at how the 5 catapults and rifles up to speed. Almost able now to pull it out over 2 car lengths over the 44. Breuer back in command. The difference, everyone inside the top 5, nose to tail once again. Can the 44 go up there and run down the 5? Let's see how this showdown ends. Is we got the Battle of Los Angeles literally unfolding in front of our faces right on the racetrack. Oh, the
sideways
44!
Out of the 44.
Major... Oh,
spins it down into the pit lane.
No
caution comes out, and now we've got ourselves a battle for second place as these guys are racing with a lap car between them. Bryce Brewer gets out in front by about 1.5 seconds. His closest competitor having spun down to the infield into the pits, coming in to take some repairs. Bryce Brewer now has Dave Acacia and Paul Pelletier to worry about. Richard Springer's fast. He's a lap down, but if Springer can get up to him, that might just be what Dave Acacia is looking for.
Or exactly, can Dave Acacia just latch on to Springer and can he tow him up to Bryce Boyer? We know that Richard Springer is quick. He threw down, I believe, still the fastest lap, second fastest lap of the race at a 39.80. So Springer is fast. Will he tow Dave Acacia to the front with him, or does Breuer sail off into the California sun? 16 laps to go to find out here live on SRM. Breuer now up almost out to a 2-second advantage already, though.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to catch up to that number 5 machine. He has been on rails since the drop of the green flag. Absolutely incredible run out of Bryce Brewer. But we've got to talk about Dave Acacia a little bit more. I mean, that man he's been racing with us for 1.5 years at this point, or a season and a half at this point.
Right.
He's been steadily improving. He's racing his way into second place right now. He's got Paul Pellissier all up on his rear bumpers, so this isn't going to come easy to him. But I tell you what, Dave Acacia, he's another driver that we've talked about making strides. Dave Acacia and that DeWalt machine. Oh man, Richard Springer gets up into the wall. Dave has to react. That gives the 31 a chance to get down to the bottom.
That
Here
opens the
comes
door.
Paul.
Yeah, here comes Paul knocking on the back door. He's going to make the pass. Now move him up into that second place position. Dave tries to counter with a potential slide job here, perhaps. Does not have the momentum. 31 rocketing off the top. You want to talk about Dahl and Paul Pellissier. They're actually friends. They raced in other leagues together. So these two, no strangers to being around each other on the racetrack. I found this out yesterday in competition on the racetrack with these two. Paul retired law enforcement, thank you, or Dave's retired law enforcement, so thank you for your service. And Paul's been with him through many seasons in other leagues in iRacing, so these two know how to compete around each other on the racetrack. As they're having a great battle, or we're having a great battle, is now Paul clearly has a little bit of an edge over the race car. Well, heartbreak continues in the pits for Ryan Motre.
Yeah, really tough break for the 44 machine. We obviously saw him get loose coming up off of turn number 4. Spun it down into the pit lane, made some significant contact. So when he came into the pits, kind of decided, well, there's not really going to be much to gain. Only a couple of cars out of the race, and everybody else is on the lead lap. The time it's going to take for us to repair this, it's not worth getting back out onto the racetrack. So unfortunately, 44 Ryan Motre is going to be out of this race. I tell you what though, Paul Pellissier is within a second of Bryce Bohr, your race leader. Half a second was, or 0.6 of a second was the discrepancy that last time around. Bryce has got himself a lot of speed out of that car, but a mistake like he may have made that last time around, I'm not entirely sure if he maybe got the wall to change that gap. I mean, we've been sitting here like it's a foregone conclusion that Bryce is going to win this race. But
Right.
Paul Pellissier is within 1 second of your race leader with 11 laps to go.
Yeah, Paul Pellissier, maybe possibly shades of Taylor Butcher Benjamin running down Thomas the Hammer Harmon from last season. Could this be their own reenactment with two different drivers on the racetrack? That gap stabilizing just over a second. Paul Pellissier in the 31. Just 15 laps ago, wasn't even in it. A caution changed everything. Now that Dodge Hemi-powered 31 machine lurking now under a second. Oh, and David Cation just off the back of him. Should the 31 run into trouble, you know, perhaps if these two were closer, you know, the 31 and the 17, they could draft a little bit more together. But when we go on board with Bryce, look at this. That 31 car is coming into the picture, or that gap is stabilizing, I should say. It seems like Bryce is better in 1 and 2, and Paul perhaps better in 3 and 4.
Well, Matt, we're going to take a look. We're changing our top side graphic here to our last lap. Pellissier was 1/10.5 quicker. Acacia about 0.5 slower than your race leader. But that 15, or I say 15, that 31 machine, I don't know why I said 15. That 31 machine is phenomenal right now at this point in the run. He is gaining Bryce Bohr. Is he going to have enough tire when he gets there? Can he even get there? We've got 9 laps, going to be 8 laps to find out, as it is 1 second of separation between P1 and 2. Paul Pellissier coming up off of turn number 4. It's a bit of a run, but it's not quite enough this last time around. Paul, 1/10.5 slower than your race leader, Bryce Bohr.
Yeah, they are literally flirting with each other, throwing punches back and forth in the lap time category. As Liam mentioned, Boyer faster that lap of 40.31 to Paul's 45.75. So no matter how you slice it, that lap, the 5 was just a little bit quicker, and that reflects now on the scoreboard as well. is now the gap is growing back the other way. Bryce Boyer now flirting with a 1.2 second advantage. And just as I say that, here comes the 31 with a great run off of 4. Able to eat back.
As I look at my timing and scoring, and I look at what I see on the racetrack, Bryce is committed to a much higher line, for the 31 is committed to a mid to high line. When they go through 3 and 4, the 31 goes a lot lower than the 5. The 5 stays up top, but the 31 is gaining the time on exit, which leads me to believe that that top side isn't bringing the momentum to Bryce Boyer that he wants. He's getting the mid-quarter speed. Now he's running the middle to lower side. He's getting that mid-quarter speed, sitting about 1 second right now. I tell you what, it's going to be a tough ask for Paul to get up to the front. It's not going to be impossible with 6 laps to go and just under a second separation, especially if that pressure puts the 5 into a mistake. But I tell you what, if you're Paul right now, you've got to push just a little bit harder. You've got to get closer. You've got to keep this math in line. I mean, as we're coming to 5 to go, you've got to be able to gain a couple tenths. You've got to be able to gain at least 1 every lap. Maybe hope for a mistake out of the 5. But so far, what we've seen out of Bryce Boyer all day, mistakes are just few and far between, as it's a 1.1 second gap here with 5 laps to go.
Yep, you hit the nail on the head. Bryce Boyer has just been absolutely almost perfect out here in clutch over the course of 100 laps. You got to give a tip of the hat, though, to Paul Pessier. Clearly, that man is digging deep.
Oh, contact coming up off turn number 2. Oh, that's going to
look what that did to the lead.
Closer. Oh, he's into the wall again, getting on entry. Trying for his arc, scrapes the wall, takes a 1.2 second lead all the way down to 8 tenths, and now he's got a little bit to worry about.
And now it's down to 8 tenths, and now Paul can start to perhaps maybe pick up the draft a little bit off of the 5 ride as well. That, I'll tell you what, if this comes down to a slugfest at the end of the 31 wins, it was that double tap of the wall there, that one mistake that Boyer has made, or one of the few mistakes Boyer has made out there on the racetrack.
And I tell you what, the 31, he pushed super hard there, Paul Pelletier. Pushed super hard going through 1 and 2. Lost a lot of time. Everything he gained out of that mistake out of the 5 has been lost.
He gave it back and then some. Is now the gap. This gap is all over the place. It is psychotic. It went from 7 tenths to over a second, almost, a second and 1.4 seconds back to Paul Pessier. These guys, nonetheless, are driving their tails off, though, right now. Dave Acacia lurking right there in 4th. He's about a half a second off the back of the 31.
Hey,
so
Matt,
the top 3 here really putting on a great closing show. The final act from the Dynasty Racing League Cup Series right here from California Speedway is now, look at the gap. It's now over 2 seconds.
Well, Matt, what I was going to say, spot on for bringing up Dave Acacia. I was just about to, as we have 2 laps to go. We've talked about him being Mr. Consistency. His lap times throughout the entire battle that we've been watching have been consistent with your race leaders. Hasn't gained much, hasn't lost much. It's been within a couple hundredths, plus or minus. Now he's sitting here, still 1.7. We talked about him 2 seconds back when he was in second place. He's 1.8 now behind your race leader, trying to take away second place. As Bryce Boyer comes to take the white flag, Dave Acacia is not content with the final podium spot. He wants to try to step in the middle of this thing. Matt, take us home.
One final time around this 2-mile speedway for Bryce Boyer in the 5, but the battle right now is for that second place position. Paul Pessier has it. Dave Acacia wants it. Just now car lengths off the back of the 31. He dives it in off the bottom, sends it back to the top. You can see he is utilizing full tilt of the draft right now of the 31 as he closes it in within a couple car lengths, going through the 3-4 complex for the final time. But it's not going to be enough, as Bryce Boyer is going to basically take it to the house. Big wheel coming off of turns 4. Your winner here from California, going full Hollywood mode. Bryce Boyer gets the dub. Paul Pessier in second. Dave Acacia in third, PJ O'Leary in fourth. There's take a look at the 31, the 17 as they go by the start-finish line. PJ O'Leary is going to come out of here with a fourth place finish after having two big moments on the racetrack. Liam Irving, welcome back to the Dynasty Racing League Cup Series. Did you expect anything other than that?
Oh, man, I tell you what. I knew these guys were going to put on a show. 8 cars. This has got to be one of the best 8-car races I've ever seen, especially over the course of an endurance race like 200 miles. I mean, these guys had everything thrown at them, especially Bryce Boyer. He had himself a pole-sitting run get taken away early on. Little mistake in front of him. He was able to navigate through that and just play it out. Had some restarts to deal with, or had a restart rather to deal with. His closest competitor going off the track didn't end up being the end-all for him, as he had to worry about Paul Pelletier getting close to him at the end. That 31 was mad fast at the end. Dave Acacia, I tell you what, playing right into that 17 paint scheme. I tried to bring it up before the finish of this thing, but things happened too quick here in the Dynasty Racing League. That consistent paint scheme, that consistent Matt Kenseth car, I know it's not the same as the 2003 Cup car. Consistent drive for Dave Acacia. Let's look at that 5 machine burn it down as we get ready to bring him in for our race winners interview.
Yeah, the 5 is burning the house down, doing a great burnout here for the crowd, and bringing them up into the SRM broadcast booth. Bryce Boyer, Matt and Liam up in the booth. You got us, bud.
I got you.
Well,
Hey,
Bryce,
Matt,
I gotta say, you sorry, Matt, to cut you off, but you absolutely confidently talked to us in that pre-race interview after you got the pole. You told us what you had to do, and you just went out there and did it. You got passed on that initial start a couple laps in. Was there any concern in your mind that you could bring this home, or?
Not necessarily. I mean, he pitted a good 10, 15 laps before I did, and 4 laps here. I mean, it's a world of difference. So for me to have, double the laps that he did on fresh tires, I figured it was only a matter of time before I caught him.
Matt, I'll let you.
Yeah, and Bryce, I mean, talk to me about the tire fall off out there on the racetrack. How big and how critical were those tires? If you abused them over the run, did you pay for it later on, or was it pretty balanced out there? Give us some feedback.
No balance whatsoever. The tires were gone, like I said, within 4 laps. Especially the rears, depending on how you run it. I'm running up at the wall, so I was burning up the rears a lot more. So the right front, I was taking care of the right front the best I could, and kind of just running up there at the wall helped me do that. But yeah, definitely, leaving the corners with all the horsepower here, you can burn right through those rears within a matter of 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. But like they said in Days of Thunder, loose is fast and on the verge of out of control. And you were as fast as a 5-flag bandit out there. Looked like you had a Saturn V5 rocket strapped to that race car at times. One final question, and then we'll cut you loose and let you celebrate with your team. Everything.
Sorry.
Go for it. Everything's going according to plan out there during the course of the race. You have a nice, healthy lead, and that caution flag comes out. What does that do to the mentality inside that race car to you at that moment?
Oh, with all due respect, it excites me. Again, to regroup everybody and give each other all one last shot at it. I mean, I just really had to put my best foot forward. It's easy when you have a stretch of a lead to just keep consistent, but it becomes real exciting when you actually got to do it and do it good each and every lap.
Bryce, spoken like a true champion right there and veteran of the sports, didn't want to just take it from the field. He wanted to go out there and earn it and get it done, and that's exactly what you did. Liam, I know you said you had another question for him, so I'll turn it back over to you.
No, Matt, that was the exact question I was going to ask, and I tell you what, Bryce, kind of sounded like Max Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton out there. Just absolutely phenomenal drive, and maybe looking for something to make it exciting. But yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to you for the race win. Incredible drive through and through, and yeah, we'll talk to you next time.
Appreciate y'all.
Now we've got ourselves second place, and Matt, I appreciate you working with me through that interview as I try to get my rusty bearings back together. But we've got Paul Pellissier. Paul, I tell you what, man, that last run towards the finish, you came out of nowhere for us. We kind of thought it was going to be through and through for Bryce, but you came away, you passed Dave towards the end of the thing and got around the lap car of Richard Springer. A lot happened in this race, but first off, let's talk about that last 20 laps here on that restart. I probably should have asked him if he had a copy first. Paul Pellissier, you got a copy? Well,
I do. Do you hear me?
oh yeah, I got you now.
Oh, yeah, I heard you. The last 20 laps, I just took everything the tires would give me and then a little bit more.
Yeah, it definitely
It
looked
was
like
on
that.
edge.
It looked like that in a couple of spots, but you were really able to put the fight to the 5 car.
I'm thinking he was holding back, baiting me maybe. Anyways, a good clean race, and it was a lot of fun, and the set was challenging but manageable.
Hey, Paul, Matt here, SRM. First of all, congratulations on a great run. And I loved watching the will and determination inside that race car. You doing everything you could. I know you mentioned you'd burned the tires off of it, but heck, you're going for a win. You didn't just roll over and say die. And tipping my hat to you, sir. I know we got to talk a lot during the ARCA race yesterday. Had a lot of fun competing out there against you. You know, I mean, you still got some good momentum coming here. This is a really good showing for you. A second place finish. That's a lot to smile about. What does this do for you moving forward?
Uh, it just incentivizes me to keep on working and keep on trying. Don't. It'll come. It's a challenge though, and you got some real talent around us.
Paul, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of great talent, some of the best in the Gen 4 business, if you ask me. Before we cut you loose, who helps you get it done? Who do you want to thank on the 31?
I'll give a shout out to my teammate Dave Acacia uh, in that DeWalt car. Him and I have been working together for years on these things and sharing information back and forth.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. No one circles the wagons like Paul Bezier. Comes home second, just shy of a win here. He's going to take that momentum. He's going to keep it rolling on into the upcoming weeks right here in the DRL Dynasty Racing League Series. Liam, back to you, sir.
Yes, sir. We're going to go ahead with our third place finisher. The final spot on the podium, we'll say last but not least, Dave Acacia. Dave, you got a copy?
Yes, I do. What's up?
Man, I tell you what, you looked exactly how Matt Kenseth did in 2003. You were Mr. Consistency out there. You just kind of, you picked your battles. You didn't push anything too hard. You come away with a top 3 finish after a little bit of calamity in front of you. Kind of walk us through your day.
Well, that first run, I did fall well behind, but I wanted to make sure I got in my fuel window, and I don't know how the winner, uh, Bryce, was on fuel. I think he might have been a lap short. I know the number 2 driver at the time was definitely short, so maybe I would have come away with the win. I was just trying to get in my fuel windows. But I'm happy with it. I kept the car clean and did what I wanted to do.
brought that beautiful Matt Kenseth paint scheme to another consistent finish, getting yourself a podium. Is there anybody you want to thank for such a strong performance here today, Dave?
Oh, Paul Pellissier came in second. He's a great guy. I've known him a very long time. We've raced since like 2011 together. He's new to the league. I brought him here because of how clean the league is. I want to say a shout out to my daughter in Charlotte, North Carolina, because she says I never do. And also the admins here to run in the league. It's great. Thanks.
Well, awesome stuff, Dave. We're super happy to talk to you, and yeah, to your granddaughter in North Carolina.
Yep, my daughter. Yep.
Your daughter in North Carolina. He said hello, so sorry. Yeah, Dave, we appreciate you joining us here. Congratulations on a third place finish here in Auto Club. Fantastic run for that Matt Kenseth Mr. Consistency scheme. And, we'll hopefully talk to you next time.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
Well, Matt, I know I'm a little bit rusty, and I've fumbled the bag a time or two, but you have been absolutely incredible. So I will leave this sign off to you.
Well, I appreciate that, bud. And I don't know what rush you're talking about because you were on point the entire night. First of all, pleasure to have you back up here in the booth with me, just like we used to last season. Certainly feel like we picked up right where we left off. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard from the top three, Paul, Bryce, and Dave. Let's bring you the rest of the way through the racing order here tonight. In fourth, PJ O'Leary in the 29 ride. Richard Springer has a couple moments out there on the racetrack, able to come home in that fifth place position. 12 laps down. Richard Springer in. And my timing and scoring is playing games with me. One moment here, ladies and gentlemen. In sixth, the 44 of Ryan Montre. Seventh belongs to Sam J. Niederhelm in the 66. Eighth place belongs to the 18 of Marcus Chaffin. And rounding out the 9 drivers who took the flag here tonight, that is going to be Jacob, the Drift King Glodulich. Want to thank everyone for joining us live here on SRM. Everyone says, what 9 cars? We had 9 stars in the field tonight that put on an absolute masterpiece here from Auto Club Speedway. The racing is always hot and the action is fierce. This is Matt and Liam from Sim Racing Media. All good things must come to an end. Everyone have a wonderful evening, and we'll catch you right here next time. Same YouTube channel. Have a great evening, everybody.